Hi there, I'm Sam from EasyTradingSignals.com, and what we're going to do today is to take a look at our indicators. Right, so here we go. This is my layout. This is how to set things up. So let's dive into how to use the ETS Trending Arrows indicator. It is pretty straightforward, but I'm going to just show you the settings that are available to you. So right off the bat, you'll see the top option here is early trigger, live signals, or stable signals. I'm going to click on them to show you what the results are. So if you notice, you'll see that the arrows moved one bar to the right. Take off early signals, early trigger, then move one bar to the left. And the reason for this is because on early trigger, live signals basically signal the moment that they happen. So in some cases, this may lead to the indicator flickering as it updates during the live bar. But the way that I've coded this, I've tried to minimize that as much as possible so the signals are as stable as possible, because it just makes sense, right? But what it would do for you if you actually use the early trigger live signals, which I use myself, is that it does give you an earlier warning. So for instance, in this case, you might say, wait a minute, so this is a nice level over here of resistance, and I'm getting a signal and it has broken through, so you want to take it. So it might give you a couple of extra pips, points, whatever, early before you get into it. Whereas if you do the stable signals, it will signal the moment the bar starts, and it will just stay there. So like for instance, in this case, you'll see that yes, it did move against it, but that's just the fact of trading. Not all signals work out. You'll see these dotted lines. They're intended to be suggested stop loss levels. So for instance, in this case, you have a down signal. You've got a stop loss level at the previous high, the previous bar, and this signal here would have negated this one in any case, but once it reached that level, you should just bail. These indicators are made for trending, so in some cases they will not work out, but when they trend, and that's the intent, they do tend to trend and just carry on. So if we go back here, you'll see that is in fact the case more often than not. But what I have set up here is a live replay. So what I'm going to do and go ahead and do right now is to actually do a playback. So this is a playback. That's part of how TradingView does things. They give you the ability to play it back. It's not perfect because it basically paints the full bar, but it'll give you a good indication of how this works. Once it painted and the bar closes, it does not change again. So something else you might have noticed are these colored bars, which is part of a free indicator that you can get called the MA deviation extremes, and it's built around the movement, price to movement, and how far it is from the moving average. So in this case, you've got a signal over there, did not have any other signals that went with it, and it is just rocketing up. There you have an indication you might be a bit of a pause, and it did in fact do that before continuing on. What I do in most cases with these signals is actually wait for a confirmation. So you can actually turn on some additional options, like for instance, moving averages. You can also show immediate reversals. So if something was triggered, signal was triggered, and then immediately went against you, it would show a trading arrow in the opposite direction. I don't use that, but it was asked for, so I included it. It also includes Bollinger Bands. By default, you can turn those off on as you wish. So with these signals, basically a good spot to actually use for an exit would be the crossing of the 9 or 20 moving averages. That would give you a good indication that the trend is potentially exhausted before it then either continues after a consolidation. So there you also saw another update. It flickered for a moment and then persisted, and as you can see, the market moved down. So so using moving averages to exit your position is a good idea, and is generally what I do as well. When the bar has a coloration like that, there's a good indication that it's far from the moving average, and it might signal a reversal, which it did in fact do here, as you can see. So you can see here where the bars, the orange or reddish bar is simply down bar that's colored, and the yellow one is simply white bar that's colored in this case. You can change those colors as well if you want. Now these simply give you indications. It might be a good spot to hop out of your trade or take a partial trade. I'll take off 50% for instance. And then once you hit your 920, those are definitely places where it would be a good idea to exit your trade. So in this case, you would want to take the trade here. Once it hits that, you just exit exactly where you went in. A new trade here is indicating up move. Some consolidation indicated here by the variation extremes free indicator, and I believe after this we're going to, here we go, move up, because you can see we got our signal early here, which gives a good indication. We've got a bit of a bull flag, and then of course the market can potentially then move up from there. So I'm actually going to move on to Forex. So over here we have both the trending arrows as well as the breakout levels indicator. Now I'm going to turn off the breakout levels just for a little bit, just to show you what this looks like for the trending arrows alone on Euro, USD. And as you can see, this is on 15-minute, and the indicators, the signals are just as accurate, as it was, for instance, for Apple. And you are more than welcome to test this out yourself on whatever you want. Here's Bitcoin. This is set to 1 hour because Bitcoin is prone to more movement, more irregularity. But once again, you can see how the signals work. I'm just going to turn off the breakout levels, and there you can see exactly how these signals work, as well as the potential stop loss level, exit levels, and these, once you go back quite a bit in time, they may not show up, but they show up for all the recent activity. Okay, basically to wrap up, the trending arrows, when they appear, it is an indication that the market might be moving in a new trend. You can wait for confirmation, or you can jump in immediately and use a stop loss level. Remember that while the bar is active, if you have a setting on early trigger, live signals, it may update, and stable signals, it will stay put and it will only fire on the next bar. As you can see here, but it will not change. It will fire and stay there. So it's up to you to decide if you want to make use of the early signal, potential it could update during the bar, or simply use the early signal and then enter once you have secondary confirmation, or simply set it to update only the next bar when it is set and is not going to update during that bar. Either way, it works exactly the same way. It's simply, whether you want an early signal or not. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to send me an email, and I will do my best to follow up and explain any questions, or answer any questions and explain any issues or whatever you might have. Please don't hesitate to send me an email at sam@easytradersignals.com.